What if I told you that almost everything you've been taught about losing body fat fast is either incomplete, misleading, or just plain wrong? Not because people are lying to you, but because the fitness industry thrives on oversimplification, on selling you the idea that fat loss is fast, easy, and straightforward, when in reality, it's a biological process that follows very specific rules. And once you understand those rules, you stop wasting time. You stop chasing shortcuts and you start seeing real, measurable results. My name is Hassan, and in this video, I'm going to break down the actual science of fat loss, what works, what doesn't, and exactly what you need to do to lose body fat as efficiently as possible without destroying your muscle mass or your metabolism in the process. Let's get into it. What is body fat really? Before we talk about how to lose fat, we need to understand what body fat actually is, because most people think of it as simply extra weight they need to get rid of. But that's an oversimplification. Body fat, or adipose tissue, serves a very real biological purpose. It stores energy, protects your organs, regulates hormones, and plays a critical role in your immune system. Your body doesn't want to lose it. It's been programmed over thousands of years of evolution to hold onto it, especially when it senses that food might become scarce. This is important because it explains why your body resists fat loss. It's not a malfunction. It's a survival mechanism. Now, there are two main types of body fat you need to know about. First, subcutaneous fat. This is the fat stored just beneath your skin. It's the fat you can pinch. It's what you see when you look in the mirror. Second, visceral fat. This is the fat stored around your internal organs, deep inside your abdomen. You can't see it, you can't pinch it, but it's far more dangerous from a health perspective and is strongly associated with cardiovascular disease, type 2 diabetes, and metabolic syndrome. The DDDDT. When we talk about losing body fat for aesthetics, revealing your abs, getting leaner, having a more defined physique, we're primarily targeting subcutaneous fat. But any well-designed fat loss protocol will also reduce visceral fat, which is a massive win for your long-term health. The one law of fat loss. There is one fundamental law that governs fat loss, and no amount of supplements, meal timing tricks, or training protocols can override it. That law is energy balance. To lose body fat, you need to consume fewer calories than your body burns. This is called a caloric deficit. It sounds simple, and conceptually, it is. But the execution is where most people go wrong. Here's how it works on a biological level. Your body burns a certain number of calories every day just to keep you alive. Your heart beating, your lungs breathing, your organs functioning. This is called your basal metabolic rate, or BMR. On top of that, you burn additional calories through physical activity, digestion, and what's called the thermic effect of food. All of that combined gives you your total daily energy expenditure, or TDEE. This is your maintenance number. The amount of calories your body needs to stay exactly as it is. When you consistently eat below your TDEE, your body has to find energy from somewhere. And that somewhere is your stored body fat. Your fat cells release fatty acids into the bloodstream. Those fatty acids are transported to your cells and they are oxidized, burned to produce energy. The byproducts of this process are carbon dioxide and water, which you literally exhale and excrete. Yes, you lose fat primarily by breathing it out. Wild but true. How large should your deficit be? Now, here's where things get nuanced. And where most people either sabotage their results or set themselves up for failure. A caloric deficit is necessary, but the size of that deficit matters enormously. Too small a deficit and fat loss will be so slow that it's hard to stay motivated and consistent. Too large a deficit and your body will start breaking down muscle tissue for energy. Your metabolism will downregulate, your hunger hormones will spike, your energy will crash, and you'll likely binge and undo your progress. So what's the sweet spot? Research consistently points to a moderate deficit of roughly 300 to 500 calories per day as the optimal range for most people. This translates to approximately 0.3 to 0.7 kilograms of fat loss per week, which might sound slow, but it's sustainable. It preserves muscle mass, and it doesn't send your hormones into a stress spiral. If you're significantly above your target body fat percentage and have a lot of fat to lose, you might operate closer to a 500 to 700 calorie deficit temporarily. But as you get leaner, say below 15% body fat, a smaller, more conservative deficit becomes critical. The leaner you are, the harder your body fights to hold on to what's left. There's also a concept called diet breaks and refeeds, which the research supports strongly. Periodically bringing your calories back up to maintenance for a few days helps reset your leptin levels, leptin being the hormone that signals to your brain that you're fed and not starving, and can actually accelerate fat loss over the long term compared to relentless, unbroken restriction. The role of protein. If there is one dietary variable that is non-negotiable for effective fat loss, it is protein intake. Protein does several things that are absolutely critical when you're in a caloric deficit. First, it protects your muscle mass. When you're eating less than your body needs, it will look for fuel wherever it can find it. Adequate protein intake signals to your body that muscle tissue needs to be preserved. It's too valuable to burn. Studies show that people who consume higher protein during a caloric deficit retain significantly more lean muscle than those who don't, even in an identical caloric deficit. Second, protein is highly satiating. It reduces hunger more effectively than carbohydrates or fat, which makes it easier to stay in a caloric deficit without feeling constantly deprived. Third, protein has the highest thermic effect of all macronutrients. Your body burns roughly 20 to 30% of the calories in protein just to digest and process it. So high protein intake actually slightly increases your total energy expenditure. The evidence-based recommendation for someone actively trying to lose fat while training is between 1.6 and 2.2 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight per day. For a person weighing 80 kilograms, that's between 128 and 176 grams of protein daily. That's your non-negotiable foundation. Training for fat loss. Here's a truth that will save you hundreds of hours of wasted effort in the gym. Cardio is not the engine of fat loss. Your diet is. Cardio can increase your total caloric burn, which helps deepen your deficit, and it provides real cardiovascular health benefits. But if your diet isn't structured correctly, you can do cardio every single day and make zero progress on fat loss. I see it all the time. That said, training does play a critical role, particularly resistance training. When you're in a caloric deficit, your primary enemy is muscle loss. Resistance training, lifting weights, working against load, sends a powerful signal to your body that your muscles are needed, that they're being used, and that they should not be broken down for fuel. This is called the muscle-sparing effect of resistance training, and it is one of the most well-supported findings in exercise science. So, the optimal training strategy for fat loss looks like this: 2 to 4 sessions of resistance training per week to preserve and even build muscle mass, combined with moderate amounts of cardio, whether steady-state walking, cycling, or HIIT, to increase your caloric burn without creating excessive fatigue that compromises your training quality and recovery. Walking in particular is massively underrated. It's low impact. It burns a meaningful number of calories over the course of a day. It doesn't spike cortisol, and it doesn't eat into your recovery. Aim for 8,000 to 12,000 steps per day, and you'll be surprised how much it accelerates your results. Sleep and stress. Two factors that almost no fitness content talks about enough: sleep and cortisol management. Study after study confirms that sleep deprivation dramatically impairs fat loss. When you don't sleep enough, your cortisol levels rise, your insulin sensitivity drops, your hunger hormones, ghrelin and leptin, become dysregulated, and your body becomes far more likely to store energy as fat rather than burn it. One famous Stanford study found that people sleeping less than 6 hours per night had significantly higher levels of ghrelin and lower levels of leptin, meaning they were hungrier and less satisfied after eating. The prescription here is simple but non-negotiable. 7 to 9 hours of quality sleep per night is not optional if fat loss is your goal. It's infrastructure. Everything else, your diet, your training, your supplementation, runs on top of it. Similarly, chronic stress elevates cortisol chronically, which promotes fat storage, particularly in the abdominal region. Stress management practices, whether that's meditation, time in nature, low-intensity movement, or simply protecting your schedule, are genuinely part of a complete fat loss strategy. So, to bring everything together, losing body fat fast doesn't mean losing it recklessly. The science is clear. You need a moderate, sustainable caloric deficit. You need high protein intake to protect your muscle mass. You need resistance training to send the right signals to your body. You need adequate sleep and stress management to keep your hormones working in your favor. There are no shortcuts that bypass this framework. But within this framework, there is enormous room to optimize, personalize, and accelerate your progress. If you want to go deeper on the exact protocols, how to calculate your TDEE, how to structure your training week, and how to set up your diet without making it miserable, I'll leave everything you need in the description below. Subscribe if you found this useful, and I'll see you in the next one.